HS2 already billions over budget with work just over halfway done, says the rail boss. I'm going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline, the HS2 already billions over budget. Billions. With work just over halfway done, says the rail boss. The total overspend on the high-speed rail could be as much as 100%, Mark Wilde, who runs the project, told MPs. Guys, while you're here, if you can hit that like and share button, it would be greatly appreciated. Already could be as much as 100% over the estimated original budget. Now, there's a couple of factors we have to take in before we even talk about the corruption. So obviously the first factor, of course, is the leaving the European Union and Brexit, because this project was announced and started before Brexit, before we left the European Union. So in tune is what contributed to a lot of costs going up when it comes to materials and cost of materials, because guess what, not everything that we needed for the projects were there. So that's the first thing you need to take into account. Of course, the costs went up during the pandemic because everything got halted, because during that period obviously people couldn't work because of obviously safety, so less, and obviously getting materials and whatnot was proving difficult during that period. So obviously the work on HS2 was delayed during the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So also you need to take that into account as well. Now, just putting those two aside, there has been countless amounts of corruption and money being wasted, spaffed up the wall in terms of this project. Inflation has also had a great impact on this. That has caused the cost of everything to go up and up on a consistent basis. The question really is why has there not been done to keep the money down, the costs down? This is the question that really needs to be asked. And this has really been the only big infrastructure project that really was announced during the time of the Conservatives in power. And you have to say this has been a shambolic screw up. Originally, obviously, it was going to be a lot bigger, the project, but they've cut down a lot of the costs and they've sold a lot of the land off already. So lots of taxpayer money has essentially been wasted already on this project, and it's going to be wasted even more, even when they finish this small phase of the project that they were intending to build as well. When this is said and done, whenever HS2 gets said and done, which they're predicting is supposed to be 2035, don't be surprised if if it takes as long as 2050 for this project to be done. Questions need to be asked and accountability needs to be held to those who are running this project previously, and those who were materials and companies and businesses that were involved, contracts that were signed. All these things need to be looked at in careful detail as to how and why so much taxpayer money was wasted. This needs to be carefully looked at in every detail. So HS2 construction contracts priced at 19.5 billion have already cost 26 billion, despite being just over halfway done, the boss of the high-speed rail project has told MPs. Civil engineering to build tunnels and cutting for the 100-mile line should all be almost finished, but is closer to 60% complete. While only a third of the wider project, including laying tracks and wiring, is done, the Transport Select Committee heard on Wednesday. So Mark Wilde, the chief executive of HS2 Ltd, said that while budget estimates have suffered from optimism bias, the company said had lost control of the program. He told the committee that at the start, that the rush to start work in 2020 without balancing the risks in the contracts was a major reason for costs spiraling upwards. Contracts were signed off in April 2020 and construction formally began 5 months later, before designs were finalised and local planning consents were in place, he said. Wilde, who started the work last December, is currently engaged in a reset of construction, which he said would include reshaping his direct staff at HS2 Ltd, coming up with credible schedule and budget, and renegotiating contracts in the autumn. He said the bottom line is that at the notice to process, the contractors could not price the risk. What we're seeing here at the crystallization of risk, they should have cost at least 19.5 billion. And we've already spent 26 billion, and we're just over halfway done. Between 50% and 100% is likely overspent. The line between London and Birmingham, initially designated Phase 1, but now the entirety of HS2 was originally planned to open in 2026. The schedule was subsequently postponed between 2029 and 2033. But on Wild's advice, Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, told Parliament last month that there was no route to full HS2 services until after 2033. So Wild had told the committee that if you lose control of the program, you end up at the extent of optimism bias, which ends up in delusion. The problem with HS2 is we've lost control of the program. He added that COVID and inflation caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine had both had significant impacts on time and costs, but that HS2 failed to manage the costs. He said the company was unbalanced and had a significant gap in its frontline workforce managing contractors, as well as having too many consultants who've been there for too long. We've ended up locked in our own bureaucracy, he said. Also giving evidence, Lord Henry said politicians had to be ultimately accountable for the decisions made. The rail minister told the committee that it was unclear why political leaders had decided HS2 should be an exceptionally fast railway. Now, I just want to point this out here. Why it should have been exceptionally fast railway. They wanted to build something unique. They wanted something that would shoot straight from London up to the north quite quickly and quite fast. I just think that they clearly didn't account for a lot of things when they made this decision. They say it says exceptionally fast railway. Well, we wanted like a really high-speed train that can take us from the north to the south in quite significant time. It would just benefit so many businesses and people if it was the case. But I don't have an issue with exceptionally fast railway there. While accepting the higher speed did increase potential capacity, he added it's hard to understand why there is such a zealousy about the highest speed railway in a relatively small country. HS2 will have the maximum speed of 225 miles an hour, though Wild suggested last month they start running at lower speeds to reduce the period needed for testing and potentially run services sooner. Wilder told the committee that he was confident that HS2 could get a reset and told that the company would keep budgets under control by no longer allowing gold plating or first-of-a-kind technology on the project. He added that he was dealing with contractors who are just working across the government and are part of a much bigger game than just HS2. With major contracts to be awarded on work such as Sizewell C nuclear plant and the upgrade to the upgrading the national grid, Hendry said he believes firms would lean into Wild's plans. He said that some exceptions of Wild called the gold plating had already been scuppered from the project, such as air-conditioned platforms as part of the first design HS2 London Euston terminus. Even Saudi Arabia doesn't have air-conditioned platforms, he said. Whose idea was it to have air-conditioned platforms? What is that all about? Like, I know, from a climate perspective, things are getting warmer, especially in the summers. But whose idea was that to come up with air-conditioned platforms? Just seems a bit crazy to me. But yeah, there are a lot of other things that money has just literally been spaffed up the wall when it comes to this project. And I can't wait until this kind of thing is kind of buried and put in the past, because it's just a crying shame that so much taxpayer money that could have been used for other projects or used for better things has just been spaffed up the wall, literally spaffed up the wall by how this has been handled by politicians and by contractors and by companies. It's not one person, it's not one business, it's not one politician, there's a multitude of things. And the whole thing has stunk of corruption from the very beginning, and it still does stink of corruption. I would say it's a lot less corruptive now because Labour are a bit more careful with it, but it's still, for me, it's problematic. I know some people would say they should have scrapped the whole thing altogether, and I can understand that argument as well. I just wish the project had not suffered in the way that it did, personally. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make of the situation around HS2 with billions already over budget, and they're literally halfway done, and it's already £26 billion has been spent on the project? Let me know your thoughts and more on this down in the comments below. If you found this video interesting and informative, hit that like button, share it across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. And thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.